Early communication development is the foundational stage where infants and toddlers begin to acquire the skills necessary for expressing their needs and desires. This stage typically involves the pre-linguistic and initial linguistic phases that are crucial for future language acquisition. Pre-linguistic communication includes gestures, facial expressions, eye contact, and sounds, which are precursors to verbal communication. In this period, infants and toddlers learn to understand and express basic concepts such as hunger, discomfort, and affection, laying the groundwork for more complex language skills. The significance of early communication development in infants and toddlers cannot be overstated. During these formative years, effective communication plays a critical role in fostering cognitive, social, and emotional development. Children's ability to express themselves significantly impacts their social interactions and the development of secure attachments with caregivers. Moreover, early communication skills can provide a solid foundation for future academic success and interpersonal relationships. Consider, for example, the use of baby sign language, a real-world application allowing infants to communicate basic needs before they are able to speak. Babies who use signs like more, milk, or all done can reduce frustration for both themselves and their caregivers, enhancing bonding and understanding. Another example is the strategic use of play, where caregivers intentionally use playtime to introduce language through naming objects and actions, thus promoting vocabulary development and cognitive skills. Opinions from experts highlight the importance of nurturing early communication skills. Pediatricians and child development specialists frequently advocate for engaging infants in conversations, reading aloud, and using rich and varied language to stimulate their developing brains. Yet, some challenges exist around this concept. For instance, there may be debates on when and whether structured interventions, such as speech therapy, should be introduced if communication milestones are delayed. Additionally, while baby sign language can be beneficial, some argue it may temporarily delay verbal speech, since children might rely on signs rather than words. The early communication development point is a cornerstone that influences all subsequent sections of creating a video script aimed at teaching young children how to communicate. It determines strategies used in script writing, such as incorporating repetition, visual cues, and simple language to make information more accessible. By understanding and focusing on early communication, the script can effectively address the essential steps in nurturing children's desires and needs, contributing to their overall well-being and development. When creating a video script to teach infants and toddlers how to communicate their needs and wants, understanding the concept of nonverbal communication is pivotal. Nonverbal communication is the process by which children use gestures, facial expressions, and body language to express themselves before they have developed the ability to use words. At its core, this form of communication is the foundational step in a child's journey toward effective verbal communication. It's significant because mastering nonverbal cues helps children connect with others, fostering social and emotional development at a crucial stage of growth. In real-world applications, consider a toddler reaching for an object and pointing at it to signify desire. This simple gesture is a potent form of communication for an infant, serving as a preliminary step toward more complex speech patterns. Another example is the use of baby sign language. Incorporating basic signs such as more, eat, or milk allows even very young children to bridge the gap between their innate understanding and their ability to verbalize needs. This early form of communication can reduce frustration for both the child and caregivers, easing the child's transition to spoken language. Supported by experts, including pediatricians and child development specialists, fostering nonverbal communication in young children is widely regarded as beneficial. These professionals emphasize that encouraging gestures and expressions can enrich language acquisition and promote cognitive advancement. However, some challenges and controversies exist. A potential issue lies in the diversity of developmental paces. Children develop at various rates, and placing excessive emphasis on nonverbal communication might inadvertently pressure some to reach milestones they aren't ready for. Additionally, there is the argument that an over-reliance on nonverbal communication might delay verbal speech in some cases. Parents and caregivers are thus encouraged to use it as a complement to spoken language rather than a replacement. This focus on nonverbal communication directly influences and enhances other aspects of teaching infants and toddlers to express their needs. By employing these early communication forms, children create a solid base upon which verbal language skills can be built. This progression highlights the intertwined nature of nonverbal and verbal communication in early childhood development. Understanding and implementing these skills in educational content, like a video script, can significantly aid in crafting a foundation for effective communication in young children, fostering growth well into their future interpersonal interactions. Understanding the basics of infant and toddler communication involves recognizing the fundamental ways in which young children express their needs and wants before they acquire language. At its core, this concept refers to the early nonverbal cues, such as gestures, facial expressions, and sounds, that infants and toddlers use to convey meaning. It's an exploration of the initial stages of human interaction that lay the groundwork for language development. Recognizing these basics is crucial for caregivers to facilitate and support the child's communication development effectively. The significance of understanding these basics lies in its impact on enhancing communication skills from an early age. Good communication with infants and toddlers can foster stronger bonds and a more responsive interaction, promoting emotional security and cognitive development. By responding appropriately to these cues, caregivers not only meet the immediate needs of the child, but also encourage them to explore more sophisticated ways of communicating, laying a strong foundation for language acquisition. For example, when a toddler points to a toy out of reach, this gesture is a basic form of communication. A caregiver who understands this cue can respond by getting the toy, simultaneously verbalizing what the child is pointing at. "You want the ball?" Reinforcing word association. Similarly, when an infant cries with distinct patterns, such as a hungry cry versus a tired cry, recognizing these differences allows caregivers to respond appropriately and build trust, helping the child to feel safe and understood. Some experts advocate for the importance of engaging in serve and return interactions, where a child's communication leads to a caregiver's response. This reciprocal interaction is supported by neuroscience, showing that such exchanges boost neural connections in the brain, critical for later language proficiency and social skills. However, challenges in this area can arise from misconceptions about infant communication abilities and the varying pace at which children develop these skills. Not all caregivers may be aware of how much infants are capable of understanding and may underestimate the importance of early interaction. Moreover, cultural differences can lead to diverse expectations and practices around communication, which might influence the caregiver's responsiveness and methods. Understanding the basics of infant and toddler communication not only highlights the importance of early nonverbal communication, but also sets the stage for expanding to more complex aspects like verbal cues and language modeling. This foundational understanding underpins every further step in teaching and supporting young children's communicative development. It influences how scripts are created to ensure they are age-appropriate while being engaging and informative for both children and caregivers. Teaching infants and toddlers to communicate their needs and wants is a critical component of early childhood development. This concept revolves around equipping young children with the essential skills to express their desires, which can be pivotal for their overall emotional and social development. At this stage, communication can be both verbal, through basic words and sentences, and nonverbal, such as gestures and facial expressions. The significance of teaching infants and toddlers these communication skills lies in its impact on reducing frustration and encouraging a healthy environment for cognitive growth. Effective communication paves the way for toddlers to develop confidence and independence as they learn that expressing themselves can lead to understanding and fulfillment of their needs. It also fosters closer bonds between the child and their caregivers, as parents become more attuned to their child's expressions and responses. For instance, teaching babies simple sign language can significantly enhance their ability to convey needs before they can speak. A toddler might use the sign for milk when they're thirsty, cutting down on guesswork and crying. Another example is modeling language by narrating daily activities, such as saying, "We are putting on shoes," which helps toddlers associate words with actions and objects, eventually enabling them to verbalize these needs themselves. Experts in child development advocate for an interactive learning environment where caregivers actively engage in dialogue, however simple, using repetition and encouragement. The emphasis is on the importance of listening and patience, as these practices can significantly boost a child's linguistic capabilities and emotional security. However, this area is not without challenges. Some critics argue that emphasizing early communication skills can pressure children to meet developmental milestones prematurely, potentially causing stress for both children and parents. Others point out the cultural variance in communication development expectations, indicating a need for personalized approaches. Despite differing opinions, teaching communication is inextricably linked to other areas of child growth, such as emotional regulation and social skills. As children learn to express themselves, they also learn to identify and manage their emotions, leading to improved interactions with peers and adults. This interconnectedness highlights the comprehensive nature of child development, where enhancing communication skills lays the foundation for future learning and personal growth. Ultimately, early communication is a gateway to more profound developmental milestones, underscoring its vital role in shaping a child's future.